Welcome back. In this eighth part of our series on invisible interference, we're calling this one the big picture. And for good reason. We're about to shift gears in a really big way, moving beyond just day-to-day annoyances and into a world where this stuff can literally be a matter of life and death.
Now, before we jump in, it's important for you to know that this is all part of a larger 10-part tutorial. It's a public awareness campaign put together by RFI detectives and virtualization options. And it's specifically designed for media professionals, for you, to really grasp the full scope of this problem. We're talking everything from a tiny glitch to a major threat to public safety.
So, up until now, we've been talking about those familiar frustrations, the Wi-Fi that just crawls or the car key fob that refuses to work in that one specific parking spot. Annoying for sure, but what we're about to get into, it's in a whole different league.
And this right here, this is the question that changes everything. What happens when those invisible signals we absolutely count on for our safety just disappear? This is the exact moment radio frequency interference goes from being a simple headache to a clear and present danger.
So let's dive right in. A public safety issue. We really need to reframe how we think about this. We're not talking about tech annoyances anymore. We're talking about signals that can mean the difference between life and death.
Yeah, forget about a buffering video on your phone. The stakes here are just infinitely higher. We're talking about the fundamental integrity of the communication systems that our first responders and all of us depend on in a crisis. The reliability of these systems is quite simply non-negotiable.
And that brings us to our next point. What is signal jamming? We have to ask ourselves, how does this critical infrastructure fail? Well, it's not always just an accident. Sometimes the interference is very, very intentional.
Okay, this slide draws a really crucial line in the sand. Most of what we've talked about before is accidental. It's just a byproduct of our super-crowded, noisy digital world. But intentional jamming, that is something else entirely. It's a targeted, malicious attack with one goal: to create a complete communications blackout.
So what exactly is a signal jammer? Well, it's not some faulty piece of equipment leaking radio waves. No, this is a device built for one single purpose: to completely overwhelm legitimate signals. The best analogy I've heard is that it's like a device that screams so loudly on a specific frequency that absolutely nobody else can be heard.
So this leads us to the most critical part: when communications fail. When somebody flips the switch on one of these jammers, who is actually at risk? As you're about to see, the answer should concern every single one of us. So let's just pause on that question. When a jammer gets turned on, who does it really affect? You might think it's just one person with a blocked cell phone, but it's not. It's a cascading failure that can impact an entire community. And this just perfectly lays out that terrifying domino effect. It starts with one citizen who can't call 911, but that silence then spreads to the police and fire crews who can't talk to each other. It hits the paramedics trying to coordinate, the dispatchers trying to guide them, and heck, even home security systems go dark. Just look at this chain. A single, illegal device can paralyze an entire local emergency response system.
Now, given these life-or-death stakes, it should be no surprise that the law is absolutely crystal clear here. And that brings us to this section. Because when it comes to jamming, there is no gray area. None.
Let's just be unequivocal about this. Based directly on federal law, signal jammers are illegal. Full stop. And using one isn't some minor infraction, it is a federal crime. The reason is simple. It blocks 911 calls. The law explicitly recognizes just how dangerous these things are.
And all of this leads us to our final and frankly most important section: a story worth telling. Because this isn't just a technical problem, is it? It's a public safety story that desperately, desperately needs to be told. And this is a direct call to action for you.
And here it is. This is the core issue we are facing. There is a massive gap, a chasm, really, between the danger we've just laid out and what the average person actually knows about it. Most people have no idea what signal jamming even is, let alone why it's so dangerous, or that it's a federal crime. And that ignorance is a danger in and of itself.
This is where your role becomes absolutely essential. When you report on this, when you explain these risks to your audience, you're doing so much more than just informing. As the source material puts it, journalism that closes that gap is public service journalism in the truest sense. You're literally arming your community with knowledge that could save lives.
So we'll end on this thought. The threat itself, the radio waves, the interference, it's all invisible. You can't see it. But the consequences, those are devastatingly real. The challenge, and I think the opportunity, for all of us in the media, is to take this invisible threat and make it seen. So the question is, will your reporting be the light that makes it visible?